All right, Jastin. I guess pick an A, B, C, D, or E.
I want news.
Ooh.
So what is that, C or D? You got any of those? Got any news for me?
Does it have to be movie specific?
No.
Okay. I mean, I've got some good news that actually might tie into an E also.
Oh, okay.
So this weekend, Charles Barkley was talking somewhere. I don't know where. Sir Charles Barkley, I need to get his name correct, was talking somewhere. And when he was talking to the crowd, he was like, if you're gay or if you're trans, I love you. And if anybody tries to talk shit, tell them Charles said, fuck you. And so I was like, that's delightful.
Okay, I like it.
And so then I went on like a weird rabbit hole on Reddit of just nice things Charles Barkley does. And so like, apparently he was like super good friends with the random guy in Iowa that worked at a cat litter company. He was a chemist for him. And weirdly enough, Charles Barkley was just like weirdly best friends with this man. And like, as the story goes, Charles Barkley was somewhere, doing, I think it was after his career, at a hotel bar randomly. And he was just sitting at the bar, and this guy was like, oh, Charles Barkley. I'm a huge fan of Charles Barkley. Let me go say hi to him and see if I could take a picture with him or something. And Charles Barkley was like, yeah, sure, of course. And nobody else was in there. So they kind of just like ended up sitting and talking for a while and all this shit. And then Charles Barkley was like, hey, let's go get dinner. And so they went and got dinner together and then went back to the hotel bar and were just like hanging out and chilling. And apparently they just did that for like the next 3 or 4 nights. Just would meet at the hotel bar, hanging out. And then like at the end of it, Charles gave him his number. And so they just would like exchange texts and talk every once in a while and stuff. And then like when Charles, like he'd be like, hey, if you're ever in Atlanta or Arizona, or like any of the random places that Charles is he's like, if you're ever there when I'm there, hit me up, we'll hang out. And they would, and all this stuff. And then when Charles, when his mom died, the funeral was in Leeds, Alabama, which is super small town, Alabama. And apparently this guy just showed up there. And Charles was like, oh man, that's so awesome that you came here. Everybody was like, who the fuck is this random guy? And, like Charles was just like incredibly like, humbled that this man would take time out of his day, or his life to come, to his mom's funeral and all this other stuff. And so then like a few years later, that guy ended up getting like brain cancer or something. And apparently Charles never knew about it. And because he just like, didn't want to bother Charles with something like that. When Charles found out about it, he was all bummed. But, Charles went to his funeral when he passed away. And so like all these people that were like kind of make fun of him because he's like, no, I'm friends with Charles Barkley. Everybody's like, yeah, sure you are. And he would like show him pictures and stuff, but everybody like really didn't believe it. But no, whenever he passed away, apparently Charles Barkley went to his funeral and all this other stuff. And that guy's daughter was like a journalist and was like asking, Charles Barkley, he's like, like, well, what would you and my dad talk about? And he's like, honestly, your dad talked about you, like his kids more than anything. It was like, and so he was telling this woman like all these things like about her life and stuff like that her dad had told him. And she was like, holy shit, Charles Barkley legitimately knows about my life just from talking with my dad and shit like that, And so like Charles Barkley spoke at his funeral and was talking about how he was just like, deeply humbled and honored that this man was his friend. And, like it's the way people would probably talk about Charles Barkley. He's talking about this man and all this other stuff. And then
that's really awesome.
Started reading through other stories and people were just talking about how like anywhere Charles Barkley goes, he's like always the nicest person and always like tips incredibly well. Apparently one time he went to dinner with Michael Jordan and they went somewhere to eat and it was a super expensive meal. and Jordan paid for it. And like, apparently Jordan like left a shit tip. He's like, dude, you're fucking rich. Give these people money. Like, you could tip better than this. You're fucking Michael Jordan. So like, he chastised Michael Jordan for not tipping good enough and all kinds of shit. Like, apparently he's just like, there was one time like somebody was telling a story about how he went to a restaurant, and it was like a small restaurant, and like he had a fairly big party, but like, you know, as most of the restaurant was like dealing with them and stuff. And like, he, like at the end of the night, he was just tipped everybody $200. Like, if you were his server or not, just like like cooks got it, busters got it. Everybody got like a $200 tip from him.
Wow.
Just because he was appreciative of everything they did for him and stuff like that, and being so accommodating and all this stuff. And you're just like, man, Charles Barkley, you're a fucking fantastic human being.
That's tight, man. That's a really cool story. Wow. I didn't know that he was like that, man. You know, I mean, you hear a lot about him being friendly, and you hear a lot about him being a nice person to be around. But I just figured, you know, these are people who probably just met him. Maybe it was a pass and go type of thing, or just these are acquaintances most of the time. You know, I didn't know how personable he actually could be. And this is really enlightening, just kind of showing what kind of the warm personality he does have. Some of those same things that seem to come off the screen whenever he's on screen doing something. It's nice to know that some of that matches the actual person, you know. It's just nice.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder about that guy that he like punched through a window, and you're like, fuck, he really probably deserved it then, didn't he? If he's just that nice to everybody else and like gives autographs, takes pictures, all that stuff, just super nice. Like, man, that guy he punched through a window probably really fucking deserved it then. And
yeah, like you think about that, and then you think about when he was playing and he was like, I'm not a role model, Charles Barkley. Like this seems like a far cry from that. So who knows? But people can change. Maybe just life has kind of changed him, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up too. I'm like, it really is crazy that this is the same man that went, I'm not a role model. And you're like, out of a lot of people, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You really are. And it's not even just to kids. He's a role model to humanity with some of that stuff. I'm like, you are a role model, Charles Barkley. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently Shaq's very much the same way, apparently. Apparently Shaq, whenever he goes out to eat, he throws around money, and it's not like it's irresponsible. It's just like, if you take care of him, he takes care of you. You know, always there for the fans, all that shit. Plus, like a fun story about Shaq is like whenever he had his signature shoe came out, I can't remember what company it was, but everybody's like, why are you like selling such a cheap shoe? You're an NBA player. Like, why is your shoe so cheap? It should be like, you know, like everybody else, like raking in that dough. And he's like, not all my fans have money. I want anybody to be able to buy my shoe. Like, you don't have to have money to buy a Shaq, you know? You're like, see, there you go. So, but yeah, I just, like I said, I think it was like Saturday night, just went on this weird deep dive on just nice things Charles Barkley's done. So.
That's really cool. I might have to do the same thing, man. I might have to go on one of these little Barkley binges and just see like what else he's been doing. I mean, that was a very, very interesting, and just like I said, just a very enlightening story about him. That's just something you don't often hear about. You know, most of the time he's just so known for being funny and most of the time it's situational humor. It's more like he's just so totally honest and blunt. He'll just say something that you just don't expect them to say on a sportscast. And that's sort of why he's funny, because he's just sort of authentic, but in that way. But it's nice to know that some of that authenticity lends itself to just how he is with people. He's just very personable, very inviting, and in a lot of ways more humble than you think he would be or ought to be in some cases. So that's badass, man.
And then on top of that, he shits on Skip Bayless constantly. And I just love that. Because with everything that is wrong, with everything that is wrong with media and sports media, like Skip Bayless like embodies so much of that. And he just shits on him constantly. And I'm so there for it. Like back when I was like a fucking edgy ass teenager and I'm like 18 and didn't realize shit about the world. Oh yeah, I love Skip Bayless. It's like, oh, he talks his mind and all this other shit. He's not afraid to say what's like, you know, an unpopular opinion. And then you realize he's just a living human version of clickbait.
That's kind of true. He always tries to have a controversial opinion. He always just tries to, even when a star does well, he finds some sort of way to say that they didn't, or, you know, he really is that person now. That really is all he is.
Yeah. He's the type of guy of like, you know, he's kind of like Lamar Ball. He's like, man, I could, you know, wear flip-flops and I could beat LeBron in a game of one-on-one. Like, that's the type of shit Skip Bayless says.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
It really sucks, though, because I've been accused of that, too. Of the hot take stuff, because of, like, the way I feel about Marvel stuff, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, what, because it's popular, you don't like it? And I'm like, no, it's because it's trash, I don't like it. But, you know, and I think that's just a great segue into what we're going to be talking about today, because we talking more Marvel today. We're talking about technically Marvel squared, because it's MCU and it's in the name.
Huh, that is true.
All the Marvels today.
All the Marvels.
And with that, here's this.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Jastin today. Heather couldn't be here. She had some family stuff come up, so we wish her the best for these however many episodes she may have to miss. But, you know, the stuff she's dealing with is infinitely more important than a fucking podcast. So completely understandable. And we wish her the best. And hopefully everything gets better. With that, we're going to be talking about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the Disney Plus series, Miss Marvel. We will talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between. I think I already said that. I meant to say we will be going spoiler-free recommendations and scores and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in the podcast or YouTube video as so required. With all that, because I'm finally figuring out what the fuck I'm talking about. Jastin, what are your spoiler-free thoughts about this here Miss Marvel?
Man, I loved me some Miss Marvel. I really liked this. And I don't know, maybe part of the reason for that is going in, I really didn't know much about this character. I didn't even really know this character existed until recently. Like, there's a Marvel Avengers video game, and she's one of the main characters. And I saw clips of that, and I was like, and they were like, you know, the guy was playing as Miss Marvel, and I went, who's Miss Marvel? And it just, and, you know, and I had that thought to myself, how many Marvels are there? You know, it was just, I just, you know, it made me go, okay, so there's another one that's not Carol Danvers, that's not the guy who was the first Captain Marvel.
That's Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel. And it's not Monica Rambeau. So I was like, who is this? You know, I
forgot
was like,
one. Well, you forgot a couple, actually. There's actually even more people with Captain Marvel. Because there was Marvel's son, Jinvel. I want to say Moondragon at one point was a Captain Marvel. There's been 90 billion Captain Marvels. And for a while, Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel. Because that's how, canonically speaking, that's how Rogue got the powers of super strength and flight and durability. Was she got in a fight with Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, and used her power absorption powers on her. She's not a mutant. So fucked with her a little bit different. And that's how Rogue kept those powers.
Okay. And I always knew that. I always knew that that's how Rogue absorbed her. But I didn't realize that, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And see, that's how lost I am on all of this. Like, I didn't know half of those Marvels you named. I only know can you even call them the big four? I don't know. And I don't read any Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. I haven't read really any of it. So I don't even know who the big ones are, or if they are, or if we are getting the big ones in these movies, or what.
Oh, see, I was always a big fan of the original Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. And it's not because of anything in my lifetime, because I think technically he died before I was even born. But I was always fascinated with the story, the death of Captain Marvel, because technically he's one of the few superheroes to ever die of natural causes. I mean, he got cancer through some comic book bullshit. The villain Nitro exploded some special nerve gas and it gave him cancer ultimately. So he died of cancer. But then there's the whole argument. It's such a comic book thing of, in the comic book, when he's dying of cancer, he also kisses death, which in the Marvel comics, death is a literal person. It's looks like the Grim Reaper. Thanos is in love with her. He kisses death at the same time. So the argument is, did he die of natural causes? Because technically he kissed death. So, but it was in his mind. So does that count? Or is that just symbolically what happens when you die? You kiss death, you know? So there's all kinds of interpretations with it. And I was always loved that. So when his son got a comic, when he was Captain Marvel, I always loved that. And there's some actual ties to this show based on that. And I'll get into that later. It's not even spoilery, really. It's Easter egg shit. But I'll get into more of that later.
Okay, good. Because I'm certain that I probably missed them. But to get back to this, and the just non-spoilery stuff. So long story short, obviously I didn't know much about this character going in. So the challenge for me was, okay, can this at least just get me to invest in this character? And I knew she was going to be in later stuff. I know that there's a movie coming up called The Marvels, where we're going to finally get Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and now Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan in it. So I was like, okay, can this little 6 episodes, can it get me to care about this character? Can it, am I going to, can it at least give me a solid introduction, and so that I can look forward to this character in later stuff? That's all I was really looking for. And honestly, what I got, I mean, this is like when you order your meal at McDonald's and then you open the bag and they put, and for some reason, somebody messed up and they put 2 extra fries in there, 3 extra burgers in there. And you're like, damn, man, look at all of this. I only ordered this, but man, I really hit the jackpot today. That's how I felt about this series. Like, I knew nothing hardly going in. I had very little expectations, but I walked away with what I feel was one of the better series that they have. It's probably one of my top ones, honestly. Like, from an artistic standpoint, the music was great. It's colorful, it's energetic, and it's very spirited. And it had a lot of heart, which is something that I think has kind of been missing from some of these movies that we've gotten lately. You know, Thor, like we just got through reviewing and seeing Thor: Love and Thunder. And for all of the like tragic things that happened in it, and love is in the title and all of that kind of stuff. But man, this had way more heart than that. And, you know, that had love in the title. But this, boy, this was big on it was so big on heart. Like there was just like an earnestness, an earnesty to it. And it just felt like the director and the people that were assigned to this project, it just felt like they really wanted to give you something more than just some comic book shit, man. And I am down for that. I'm just all for that. So, like I said, the music was great. It was so colorful and vibrant. I got an education about Pakistani and Muslim culture that I didn't even know I needed. You know, this talked about an event that I don't even think I knew very much about. Maybe this was briefly mentioned. I mean, I was boggling my mind trying to remember, do we even talk about this in school? Was this anything that we went over or researched or anything like that? And then I just tried to think of, I mean, how many movies, how many things have I seen that depicted this event or talked about this event? And I could barely think of anything. So for me, not only did I get a great introduction to a character that I didn't know much about, but I got an education about a different culture that I didn't know I needed. And not only that, but the Pakistani Muslim culture, it was all presented in a positive way. It was all presented in a way that wasn't preachy. It didn't feel like it was trying to force me to like people or anything like that. It looked like I just got a glimpse into the lives of different people, of a different background and a different culture. And it was great. Some of it, I was like, man, this looks like fun. These people seem like a lot of fun to be around. Like it just got me to care about everybody in Kamala's family, including her. The last few things I'll say on it is that I think that it's paced very well. The way that they do editing and scene transitions and stuff like that is just energetic is the word that I keep coming back to. This just flows, man. And the music just, you know, my head was rocking constantly. And like, I think I said this in a text to you, even though there were times where I didn't understand what was being said, I didn't understand what the lyricist was saying, but my body understood. Like I was just rocking my head constantly. And I was like, man, dude, this music is very catchy. And like, just, I mean, everything about this, man, it just felt like a lot of effort was given to just make this something beyond what we've been seeing lately from Marvel. And I really appreciated that. And all of it, all the cultural stuff, all of that is very intricately tied into the story. I thought they did a great job with that. Even the things that I felt like I needed more explanation of and things like that, I felt like, okay, maybe that was done intentionally. We'll probably get that once we get to dive deeper into this character. They even make some revelations at the end that I think overall for the MCU are exciting. And ultimately, and it had an end credit scene that was very interesting too. And I think it's going to be fun to talk about as well. So, I mean, man, my hat is off to them. My hat is off to Marvel Studios and everybody on this project. And the last thing I'll say is just all the actors were great. And I mean, and you know, we talk about, and this will be the last thing. I keep saying that, Sterling, but I promise I'm going to let you talk. But the last point I want to make is just about the actors and actresses. Like, we always talk about with some of these movies, like, was this actor born to play this character? And I know we often talk about Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. You know, we talk about Tom Holland with Spider-Man, and we talk about, you know, I mean, some people say that about the Ben Affleck Batman. Some people say that about, you know, the Christopher Reeve Superman, whatever. You know, we go back and forth with these characters and say, oh, this actor, or the time that they chose this cast, they really just knocked it out of the park. And Iman Vellani, she was great as Kamala Khan. She was awesome. She was so great on screen. She was just, she played the character with such a charisma and such an energy. Like, I was compelled the whole time. Like, she was great. And there were times where it gave me kind of the Spider-Man Homecoming vibes with her performance, and the doing what she was doing and trying to discover her powers and discover more about herself. But it's so different from that. They brought in this family dynamic with her that makes it fresh and made it feel like something different entirely from what I've seen from the other Marvel material. And from characters that are kind of this age, you know, the 16th, the teenage superhero type of character. So I loved it, man. I thought that this was great, and it finishes to me so far as one of my favorite series from Marvel Studios and Disney Plus.
As much as I have been on a downward trend with the MCU, feeling like I want to give up on it, feeling like watching this MCU stuff is more of a chore than it is a joy, like an enjoyment thing. Then something like Miss Marvel comes along and it just grabs me back into the MCU. This show is what Thor: Love and Thunder should have been. This show is what Moon Knight should have been. There is no damn reason in the world I should watch Miss Marvel, a character I know the most basic of elements about. I maybe knew a hair more than you, Jastin. Just a little bit. I knew she was like the first main like Muslim comic book character. And this isn't a spoiler for the show, really. In the comics, she's an Inhuman. She's so that's where her powers come from. Her powers are a little bit different in the comics. I think they call it like embiggening or something. She's kind of got like mild stretch powers. So the whole like her making a hand big thing and catching people, she just does that with her physical body. That's more of what she does in the comics. It's that type of stuff. Also, she names herself because she's a huge fan of Carol Danvers. You know, so they keep that the same. That's really all I knew about this comic book character. So like I said, I knew a hair more than you, Jastin. I'm not gonna lie, I want to buy the shit out of some fucking Miss Marvel comics now. I don't think anybody went and bought Moon Knight comics after that series, even if they liked it. And if you would, it's going to be drastically different. This character seemed fun as shit. The show was fun. And the reason why I'm comparing it to Moon Knight so much is they both had similar goals. In Moon Knight, the showrunner and the producers and the writers and directors, a big thing of them is they really wanted to get Egyptian culture right. And I applaud them for that. There's no issues with that. But I think that they could have spent a little bit more time on his Jewish ancestry, like his Jewishness, like they did with her in the Muslim culture that she's in. They made her being a Muslim so central to her character in such a fantastic fucking way. I wish they had done that with Moon Knight's Jewishness. As much as they did about the Egyptian stuff, I think that there was room there to do it. You know, I'm not saying you have to sacrifice any of the accuracies with Egyptian culture for it. No. You could have done Moon Knight the same way they did this fucking show. And just make it a part of the character so integral that it's just a part of telling the story is a part of telling that. Kind of like what they did with the Egyptian in Moon Knight. They did that. They just made it a part of fucking telling the story. I wish they had done that with Moon Knight and that. This show, honestly, to me also had a better understanding of the character. Or at least it felt like it. I might not have the best understanding, but this show fucking felt like it did. You know, this show seemed more focused to me than both Moon Knight and Thor. Yeah, I know Doctor Strange and some other stuff came in. I'm talking about the shit that I wanted to succeed in the MCU. And how they failed at that. This show succeeded infinitely. You know, it's those little things that this show felt like they knew every single step of what they wanted to accomplish. And then they went out and did it. I felt like Moon Knight didn't have that. And that's why we ended up getting random things of, I don't know, missing so many fight sequences. I also recently found out, and I think I'm more disgruntled about Moon Knight than I was before. The showrunner, he was like, you know, when I wanted to, you know, go do Moon Knight, I went and read like 1,000 Moon Knight comics. I don't even think there is 1,000 of them, but still. He's like, I went and read all this Moon Knight. And he's like, you know, when I came out of it, I didn't really like the character of Mark Spector. I'm like, oh, you didn't like the fucking character of Moon Knight? No shit.
Wow.
That's why Stephen Grant's the main fucking character of the show, which that's fine. But you also can't not like the fucking main character of essentially all the comics and all the stories and then go and make the fucking show about it. You know, that's like if, you know, somebody's like, you know, I really fucking hate Batman. Let me direct it. You know, it's that type of shit. It's the same reason why Venom and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man sucks so bad. He fucking hated the character of Venom and was forced to do it by the studio. So we got a very shitty Venom. Yeah, that's why. Makes sense. I'm not necessarily blaming Sam Raimi at that point. He was forced to do something. So you got his version of Venom and it sucks. Because why? You don't like the character. So and then like when I heard that line, I'm like, yeah, no, Moon Knight makes infinitely more sense now. Of all the decisions they made, I'm like, yeah, because he fucking hated the main character. And that's also kind of the point, is you're not necessarily supposed to like Mark Spector completely. He was a war criminal. But the whole thing of Moon Knight is the atonement. He is the atonement for his past crimes. And you don't fully get that. You get glimpses of it. You get glimpses of so much. But, you know, you get only glimpses of his Judaism. You get only glimpses of this and that. And then you get something like Miss Marvel. Just unapologetically Muslim. Unapologetically Pakistani. Unapologetically a kid.
Yeah.
And they wanted those things to be integral to the story. They cared so much about that. And they make you care by doing so. And the same with Thor. Thor's, you know, you've got Taika Waititi and you've got Thor coming off of Thor Ragnarok. So you're expecting bright and colorful. You're expecting funny. You're expecting a banger of a soundtrack. You're expecting all these great things. And you got parts of it. I'm not really a Guns N' Roses fan, so I mean, I could take or leave the fucking Guns N' Roses constantly in that. But you get all of those things in this. It's fucking funny. It's fun. It's bright and colorful. It has got one of the most distinct visual styles you will see in a fucking TV show. They do kind of abandon that a little bit later, and I was kind of bummed about it. But you know what? They do so much other cool shit. You kind of forgive it a little bit. I just wish they hadn't abandoned so much of that. Like, I loved how they integrated texting into just the background of the scene.
Oh, yeah. First episode is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm so sad they abandoned that.
That might be, yeah, and you're right. They kind of they go away from that in later episodes, but that might be one of the best first episodes that the MCU has done in all these TV series. I really love the first WandaVision episode too, but man, this was,
I blew off Miss Marvel. I knew we were having it. I was like, whatever. I don't really know the character. It's only 6 episodes. I'll watch it before we record. I blew it off. Spoiler alert, we're recording this on a Wednesday. This was Sunday. I forgot I needed to watch it before we recorded this week. We hadn't established a date of recording at the time, but it's Sunday before this day. Hadn't even watched a fucking minute of it. Kind of forgot. Monday rolls around and I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch Miss Marvel. I haven't watched any of it. I've got to watch Miss Marvel. Started it that afternoon. Watched all of it. Just all of it. Did not stop.
Wow.
Just watched all of it. Because it fucking hooks you. From the opening credits. I was like, okay. You've got my attention. That first episode happens. I'm like, I was worried I would have to rush watching this. With all the other shit I got to do. Because I got to edit an episode. I got to edit the video. I got to watch my Stargate SG-1 because, that's what I've been watching on season 8 of that. I never watched it when it was on. And so I'm like, no, that's also the thing I'm currently going through all 10 seasons of, and I've got all so I make sure I watch at least one episode of that a day. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, that's a priority series for me right now. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to rush watch this, aren't I? I'm going to be watching it up until we record. Nope, no issues whatsoever once I started watching it. Blew through it, didn't even think about it. That last episode's coming on, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on the last one? It's already there? Didn't even click, just breezed through them effortlessly.
Yeah. And on my second time through, because I was like, man, let me go ahead and watch it a second time through. Because sometimes when you watch it, when you kind of watch it all together, you catch things that maybe you didn't catch the first time because of those weeks apart that you're watching episodes. So I was like, man, dude, I'm going to have to start on this. I'm going to have to rewatch it. And I went through that again so quick. It's just such an easy watch.
It's roughly 4.5 hours if you watch them all because they aren't full hour longs. They're about 45 minutes each.
Yeah.
So it's about 4.5 hours long. I am notoriously the person that rails against how long movies are, this and that. Why the fuck is this 4.5 hours long? Why is this 3 hours long? Why the fuck is this and that? Like I said, didn't even faze me that I just watched 4.5 hours of this though. I was just so engrossed that I essentially watched a 4.5 hour movie. Didn't even take a break. Just watched it. I think, maybe between episodes, I think, went and got some water, maybe got a snack, because it was also dinner time at some point. I had blown past that. You know what I mean? But 4.5 cake, just done. I think I texted you when I was ending the 3rd episode or something like that. And then I felt like I blinked and it was over. I was just like, what the fuck just happened? And I mean, also, if you ever need a lesson in having a fucking killer ass soundtrack,
man,
it's this fucking show. Dude, I jumped on iTunes and I am so pissed at Marvel right now. Because do you know what Marvel does for their soundtracks for this shit? They've got a volume 1 and a volume 2 of the Miss Marvel soundtrack. And you're like, okay. It's all the score though. None of it are the fucking bangers they put in the show, dude. None of it is.
Really? That makes me sad because I was going to go look for the soundtrack.
Dude, I wanted that so bad. You just get this fucking album of just Pakistani and Arab fucking bombs, dude. And that's a terrible fucking line. I should never have said that. Just you get these songs that are fucking amazing. And then also a random ass Bon Jovi song. It ties perfectly into the show. And I've got nothing necessarily against Bon Jovi. I've just been probably the most apathetic person ever towards Bon Jovi. I just never gave a fuck that they existed. And they made me like one of their fucking songs just because they put it through a fucking badass fight sequence. Oh, and I love that. Like, just, I can't speak enough about how much I loved this music. Like, I've got a list, and I'm going to have to go back because once I realized I couldn't buy the soundtrack, I started Shazamming all the songs so that I'm going to essentially buy this soundtrack by buying all of the songs. So I'll let you know what all these songs were, Jastin. So you might at least be able to go find your favorites. Because I was just like, I'm going to have to start back on episode 1. I'm just going to start this series over and just have Shazam ready. Like, yep, that's one of the ones I want. And just get all of these songs.
Please give me that list because
they are missing a golden opportunity.
Some of these.
Yeah,
for sure.
They are missing a golden opportunity to fucking steal my money from me. I want to give you my money, Disney, Marvel. I want to. I know you've got to then distribute it to some of these artists too, but I want to give you my money. And you just refuse to allow me to pay you money. What kind of fucking business sense does that make? Anyway. Like you said, acting, superb. Oh, I fucking loved it. Iman? What's her name?
Iman.
Yeah.
Iman.
Fucking loved her. I needed her in so much more shit now. I need at least 3 more movies and 2 more TV series in the next year with her. She's fucking fantastic.
She's like basically a virtual unknown, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, like she's not.
Less, yeah. Yeah, she didn't really have anything big to her name at that point, you know?
Okay.
Also, huge nerd. Apparently, she would text Kevin Feige like shit that he was wrong about in the shows. Like, apparently, after she watched Multiverse of Madness, she texted him going, the MCU is not Universe 616. That's the comics. And he's like, no, it's also for the... And she's like, no, it's not. The movie universe already has a designation. It's not 616. She's like, she's mad at... Like, she's texting Kevin Feige. Dude, you fucked up. Oh, I love it. Down for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about some of this. Like, she will text him and talk to him about stuff that says she's like, man, well, in the comic, it's this. And that's really awesome. And there's a little thing on Disney Plus, like something about before you watch Miss Marvel or getting to know Miss Marvel or something like that. And when I found out that she was just this avid comic book fan and that she has grown up reading the Miss Marvel comics, like it made so much sense why she was so good at this. Like it just all made so much sense. Well, she knows this character inside out.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that then because, I didn't know that existed. I don't spend a lot of time on Disney Plus. So, I need to go back and watch it because I just want to see more of her. She's fucking great. Like she's just got this energy and this magnetism and charisma that just leaps from your screen when you watch her. Oh, it's fucking great. You know, her friends were really good too. Her parents are fucking fantastic. Some of the best written parents in TV. Oh, I love it.
They have to be. I think that they have to be on that list. Like, I loved her family, man. I loved how the narrative got me to care about each and every one of them. Anytime one of them was talking, they weren't just saying some bullshit. Anytime they had a concern, it felt like a real concern. And sometimes you felt for them like, man, I don't think this is right. Like, I was like, man, Kamala, like, did you have to say that? Like, it got to the point to where you were even feeling for them. At the same time, you understood what Kamala was doing, but you felt for them too because you knew they were good parents. Like, this was just so great. This was great. And then her friends too. The same thing with them. They had their own little journeys And they found a way to get you to even care about those little things. So anytime somebody was on the screen, you were just like, oh, what is this character doing? Or what is she doing now? Or what is she going to say? Or what is he going to say? Or, man, it was just so good in that way. Just everyone. I just cared about them so much. I just wanted to see them. When they weren't on screen, I was wondering what they were doing. And that's the mark of a good show. It really is.
Man, that scene, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but man, that scene when her parents were like, you could go to Avenger Con, but you have to go with your dad and you got to dress like the Hulk. And dude, when she hurt her dad's feelings, I was like, man, you go apologize to that man right now. Because you felt it.
Yeah.
He was so good at selling that. Oh my God. Just you felt his heartbreak.
Yeah, you did. You really I felt for him so much. And her mother, man, God, I loved her mother.
That was such a great arc they had for her. You felt like she was going to be the typical Islamic over-controlling mother. And just the way they told her arc, and then you got to see the reasons behind it. And then her realizing the error of her ways, but then also explaining to her daughter that some of it's still not going to change because it is who we are.
Yeah.
It's our culture. It's our religion. It's our family. Some of that won't change, but some of it will. And when you get to see that whole breakdown and that story she had, oh man, that scene when they're in Pakistan and sitting at that table together, eating that toffee, fucking glorious scene. Glorious.
Yeah. Yeah.
That scene with that didn't even have Kamala in it. When it's the mom talking with her mom. Oh, yeah. Fucking great.
Yeah. Great. And it didn't overstay its welcome. No crazy over the top, melodramatic dialogue where you're just like, oh my God, okay, we get it. We understand. They don't like each other. Or, oh, okay, we get it. It was nothing like that, man. You just felt for them. Everything felt so genuine and just, oh, I understand the mom more now. I see why she's like this. And then you're listening to the grandmother and you're like, well, I understand why she's like this too. It was great, man. It was
you got just a little bit more insight into the character of the mom. Because at this point, the grandmother's a slightly new character in the series, when that's happening, but you get more insight into the mom, which explains more of her relationship with Kamala and how that's, expanded the Kamala character. So it's just really fucking great that you got that little scene. And like you said, it didn't stay too long. It just kind of really bridges that gap just super fucking well in just such a genuine way too. And then when you get that mirror conversation with Kamala and her mom later, oh fuck, it seals the deal. It does that whole full circle element. And you get our main character in that same type of scene. And it just really builds so much off of that establishment scene of the mother and grandmother. Oh, it's just fucking fantastic. In so many ways, shapes, or forms, as far as the TV series goes, or as far as the MCU goes, especially for this year and everything like that. Miss Marvel to me is the everything everywhere all at once of the MCU, especially of the TV series. Came out of nowhere, bright fucking colors, great fucking family dynamic, fucking stellar ass acting, great fucking music, surprise performances, just everything about it just kind of fucking was the same to me. And
man, that's a great comparison.
I loved everything, dude. And even then, I loved the fight sequences in this show because they did such a great job of melding the fight sequences of some really great choreography and also a fucking kid that just got powers, didn't kind of know what she was doing, had inexperience with that.
Yeah.
Was just reactionary with so much of it. Oh, they did such a great job of choreographing that.
Yeah. and seeing her be so much more defensive because like you said, her being so new to the powers, a lot of it was just her trying to avoid and duck and dodge and blocking and just using her powers to deflect and try to get away. Like, it was very apparent that was very apparent, especially with the earlier fights. And then finally, when we get to it later and she's fighting a little more confidently, you see that too. It is exactly what an origin story should be. I mean, this is just a blueprint for what it should look like for a character. It should be something like this. You walk out, and at the end of the day, you care about the character that was introduced. You're excited about where her powers can get because they didn't blow their load at this. They didn't show you the full potential of her powers. You can tell there's so much on the table with what she can do. And then on top of that, they established a family, they established friends and people that are so likable. You can't wait to see them again. You hope to see them again. Like, what more can you ask for in an origin story like this?
And hence why I said this is what Moon Knight should have been. Because I don't think Moon Knight is any of those things. I don't think it's terrible. It's just there was so much potential left when it was done. I don't feel that way with this. I think they maximized like 130% of the potential of this shit. Anyway, I feel like we need to move on because I think we're just getting so close to wanting to say shit.
Yes.
Recommendations and scores?
Yes.
Recommendations and score.
Since we don't have Heather, I'll go first. Change it up a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't recommend this enough. This is the first time I've watched something with this that I'm genuinely going, I want to watch this again. I need to watch this again. I think I rewatched some of the WandaVision. I rewatched a little bit of Captain America Winter Soldier, but I felt like I was doing that to make sure I was on my A game for when we recorded. I want to, just for funsies, just for my own entertainment purposes, want to rewatch this again.
How long has that been?
Oh, that's been forever.
In an MCU anything that you've just wanted to rewatch it for funsies.
For funsies' sake?
Winter Soldier? Ragnarok, maybe?
Ragnarok, I think, actually was the last time I watched it for funsies.
Okay.
When rewatched it just for fun's sake. Because I have rewatched Black Panther for funsies. Same with Civil War. You know, I've rewatched some of those, but like, I think Ragnarok, might be the last time I rewatched it because I was like, you know what? That was just a good time. Let me rewatch that again. Ooh, that is so long ago. We've already gotten another Thor movie since then.
Yep.
Won't be watching that one for funsies, that's for damn sure. We got Moon Knight, my fucking favorite Marvel character of all time. Haven't rewatched a single damn thing of that. Got no plans on it either. Unless I get a director's cut that fills in all the fucking bullshit I'm missing. Unless they go, man, we're doing season 1 of Moon Knight again. We're adding 4 more episodes of it though. All right, I'll rewatch that. But nope, this though, man, like it's effortless to watch it. Effortless. Like I said, movies, I can't even watch necessarily like this. This just so cleanly goes along. And part of it too is that every end credits has an amazing song. And the intro to this is an amazing song. So
yes.
I'm just going between episodes going, man, that's great. Just fucking getting it. And then before I know it, the next episode's already going. I'm already in it. Just not even thinking about it. But yeah, this, I can't recommend it enough. Like I said, to me, this is the MCU's version of Everything Everywhere All at Once. just a surprise, genuine, great family stories, great visuals, just everything about it. If you need to hear about that, go to the last time me and Jastin did a solo episode, which was that. Go listen to our review of that. It's the same. Like I can't speak highly enough of this. Yeah. I mean, dude, this is, it's just like fucking Top Gun Maverick. Same thing. Great music, great action sequences, great acting, great story. It's the same thing to me. Like, this is just shit like this. To me, I feel is like why I wanted to do a podcast with you guys. Like watching shit like this and being fucking happy about it. You know, don't get me wrong. I do love shit talking a movie. I love it.
Yes, you do.
But I don't feel like I love shit talking MCU movies. Because I used to like them. I see the potential there. And I just don't now. So like the fact that I get to love this. Just like I said, to me, this reminds me of why I fucking liked the MCU to begin with. And of all things too, there's nothing I hate more than an origin story. Because I feel like origin stories are the same formula all the fucking time. So the fact that this is an origin story and I loved it. Oh man, just to me shows how great this is. I give this 95 Packy Chans, because that is one of the greatest lines of a song I've ever heard in my life. And you said a Packy Chan. You don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about Jackie Chan, but it's Pakistani. So it's Packy Chan. God, that's a fucking fabulous line. 95 of those out of 100. What about you, Justin?
How do we have the exact same score? Maybe I'll just give it an extra point since we had the exact same score. No, I recommend this too. Man, this was tight, man. Like, I mean, we said so much already in the non-spoiler. I don't think there's a point to really add any more. I'd rather just go ahead and get into the spoiler talk of it. So yeah, highly recommended. This is easily one of the best MCU shows, if not the best MCU show. I mean, it was great, man. And it's definitely the best Marvel thing I've seen this year. You know, it really is. It's the best Marvel anything I've seen this year, you know? So yeah, I think it gets that honor, and it makes me happy for what's to come because it gives me hope, but it also makes me go, man, why couldn't more stuff be like this? Like, why isn't more stuff like this? Like, why, you know, and I hope that the effort that this team gave to make this more than just a story, but to make it an experience, to actually educate you and to actually get you to care about these characters. I hope that that same effort and energy is put into some of these projects coming up, because we got hella projects coming up. So, I mean, God forbid that we don't get more stuff like this. Hopefully we get more stuff like this than more of the disappointing stuff, or the stuff that's just okay, or the stuff that just passes. You know, it makes a passing grade. You can go to the next class, but man, I know you didn't give the effort that you should have. So hopefully we get more stuff like this. With that being said, we'll give it a bonus point. So we'll go 96. Kamala Khan intricate plans where we go anywhere and everywhere and just all over her imagination, and it's a roller coaster ride that's almost more fun than the actual taking action of the plan itself. Out of 100.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I cannot think of a better way to introduce fucking mutants to the MCU than this fucking show.
Man.
I know technically we get a little Easter egg of it with fucking, Professor X in Multiverse of Madness. I know they were talking about maybe, like, a lot of people are theorizing that maybe they'll do it with Deadpool 3, because it's going to be in the MCU. All this shit. Man, when they drop that line, though, it's a mutation. I got skin crawls. I was like, okay.
And I was like, we finally arrived here.
And
we have finally arrived.
I can't think of a better character to do it to, because it was just so fucking fun. And just to have that little cherry on top. It's fucking great. And then it ends with, yeah, you're a mutant. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. And I know that there are some comic fans that are disappointed because they're like, well, she's an Inhuman and this, that, and the other. But from what I understand, that Inhumans movie was terrible, right?
The TV series, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason why it only lasted like 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay. So, that wasn't that great. And guys, let's just be honest here. What is the moneymaker? Is it the mutants and the X-Men, or is it the Inhumans? Come on, guys. You know what this is. And I mean, who's to say that an Inhuman can't be a mutant or vice versa? Or
they're kind of the same thing.
Is it really that different? So I think that this was a good decision. So I even loved her reaction to it. At the end of the day, it's just going to wind up being another label. That was great too, because it kind of harkens back to how the X-Men were treated. Like, this show was just the shit, man. Like,
and that's so in her character too.
Yeah.
Being of the younger generation, being a Muslim, being a kid, being a woman. It all fits. Like, to her, it's like, yeah, that's just another thing that I am. Okay. Like, I'm still me. Like, that's what it is. So, yeah, I love that mentality she had with it. But I mean, you have to look at the further economics of it all, of the whole why she was an Inhuman to begin with, because there's so much more to it at the time. At the time when Kamala Khan was introduced in the comics, there was a big swing from mutants to Inhumans. So they were killing off a lot of mutants and they were making a lot of Inhumans. They were introducing no new mutant characters. Any character that would have been a mutant 5 years before that were Inhumans. Why? Because at the time, Fox had the right to every mutant character that exists. So if you introduce a new mutant, Fox got the rights to it to a movie. But guess what? Inhumans, which were essentially a version, like a type of mutants that were just developed by, I want to say the Beyonder, technically. Like, it's his version of the mutants, you know what I mean? So it's somewhat one of the fucking random cosmic characters, one of those fucking asshats. It's like he genetically experimented on some shit and it made the Inhumans. And they're just kind of a cosmic version of mutants is what they fucking are. So at the time when Miss Marvel's being introduced, if they made her a mutant, Fox got the rights to put her in a TV show. They got the rights to put her in a movie. So what were they doing? They were making everybody Inhumans.
Okay.
But what happens now? They own the rights to mutants again. So guess what? She's a mutant. Because I think if they had done her story, if Disney owned the rights to mutants at that time, she would have been a mutant. But that's just what they were doing with the comics. Anybody that would have been a mutant was an Inhuman now. They did this whole thing where this gas was released on the planet. And this is part of her origin story, where the Terrigen Mist. Like, so that's the thing, is Inhumans are, for all intents and purposes, just humans until they're exposed to the Terrigen Mists. When they're exposed to the Terrigen Mists, if they have the Inhuman gene, they develop powers. And if they don't, I think actually they die. No, they don't die. But just nothing happens, or I don't know. But anyway, Terrigen Mist was released all over Earth. So all these people develop powers. Like I said, which was just normal people getting powers, which is what? I don't know, mutants. That's what they did with the mutants for so long. When you're becoming a kid, it's the same shit. So she got her powers when she's a teenager, which who else gets their powers when they're teenagers? I don't know. The fucking mutant. Like I said, she would have everything. The way she's written, she would have been a fucking mutant if they weren't doing that shit to intentionally fuck over how many characters Fox could get. But they wanted mutant-esque characters, so they were making them all Inhumans. Just what they did. You know?
Okay.
Look at the economics of the shit. It's the same reason. Like, because Marvel was fucking spiteful at that point because they were back to being a success. And unfortunately, too many other people had rights to their shit. So they did everything they could to skip that. It's the same reason, like when Sony released a memorandum to their company going, Peter Parker will always be white. Spider-Man will always be white. He'll be straight. He'll be this. He'll be that. Because that's what the comics are. And then Marvel went, oh, really? And then the Ultimate Universe, they went, oh, Peter Parker's dead. Miles Morales is now Spider-Man. Oh, you've got a, half black, half Latino Spider-Man. You remove Sony with our not white Spider-Man. It's the same thing. Marvel was incredibly spiteful. So yeah, to me, it makes complete sense that she's the introduction to mutants. Because like I said, you look at everything about her character, she would have been a fucking mutant. And now, like I said, Disney has that now. They're just not rewriting the comic character. That's all. Comic character still an Inhuman. She's a mutant. Yeah, makes sense to me. Especially when you just look at the logistics of it all. And with all that, the mid-credit sequence thing they did, when she has some issues with her band, all of a sudden she swaps places with Captain Marvel. That ties into the comics a little bit. Not Miss Marvel, not that I know of. Like I said, I don't know terribly much about her, but no, that falls in line with actually Marvel's son, Genisvel. That when he was Captain Marvel, there was the character Rick James. Yeah, Rick James. Right? Yeah. I don't know. Rick Jones. Rick Jones, maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, technically the kid that Dr. Banner saved during the bomb, there was the kid, the hippie in the trench in the bombing area when they were testing the bomb, and he goes to save the kid. That's Rick Jones. Yeah, it's Rick Jones. He goes to save Rick Jones. So Rick Jones is kind of a sidekick character for a lot of comics. For the Hulk, I think technically for the Avengers a little bit. He's just some guy that fucking hangs out and helps them every once in a while. He gets his hands on the Negabands, which are these gold bangles, like what she has one of. And if he bangs his wrists together, the bangles together, he swaps places with Captain Marvel, who is stuck in the negative zone. So they swap places. So you kind of get a hint to that a little bit with this whole thing. What happens? She's got a band. They didn't name it anything. It's just a bangle. It's the band. And what happens? Something happens with it. She swaps places with a Captain Marvel. It's a little bit of a nod to that. Because I do think that she's going to end up getting in the Marvels, I think she's going to get the other band. I do think she's going to end up getting the MCU's version of the Negabands. And I don't think she'll use them to swap places. I just think that they're using that as kind of a story, that part of the story, Easter egg kind of hint towards things, just to really tie her into why she will be in the Marvels movie. Because outside of that, while yes, she is a fangirl of Captain Marvel, all this other stuff, there's not too much of a reason for her to all of a sudden join Captain Marvel doing cosmic shit.
Yeah.
I think they're going to use the Negabands to tie her to Marvel, to give her a little bit more of a cosmic play into why she'll interplay in that movie and stuff. Makes sense to me, whatever. But my greatest thing about that, this show didn't need it. It's just a little tie-in thing at the end. Yeah. Outside of that, just a fangirl. Fucking fantastic. Loved it.
Yeah. And all of that. And we got a little answers to some questions, because we're always speculating, okay, how does the public know things and stuff like that? I'm glad that they even, as she was doing her little TikTok or her YouTube video, whatever she was doing, she was talking about how she listens to Ant-Man on podcasts, and he was talking about Captain Marvel and what she did and how she turned the tide of the fight and stuff like that. So even like that kind of little stuff, that's a little thing. But now we're like, okay, so, it just kind of confirms things that we thought earlier. Like people are talking to the media. These guys are doing certain things in the media and telling these stories to the public. So, it's just another thing that sort of lends itself to it.
And the thing I kind of liked about that is like, yeah, that's actually been a complaint I've had about some of the other shit. I'm like, how does everybody fucking know everything that's going on with this shit?
Yeah.
And I like that they used Ant-Man because I'm like, yeah, no, if anybody's going to be just saying shit because they just don't know any better or don't care or just kind of have a fuck the man kind of mentality a little bit, yeah, it's Ant-Man.
Yep.
So I'm like, if anybody's just, because that's also Paul Rudd. You know what I mean? If anybody's just consider and just say shit, it's Paul Rudd. So I'm like, I could just see that. It's just, that's the type of character that Ant-Man is. So if anybody's just going to be talking about like cool shit they saw and giving up kind of technically what would be classified information and all this other stuff, yeah, it's Ant-Man. Okay. That actually tracks. Really actually, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Because that's just what I could see that character doing. And whenever they did that, I could just sit there and in my head, I just pictured Paul Rudd sitting on a podcast. I'm like, just like this, just going, yeah. And then Captain Marvel came out of the sky and just went right through Thanos' ships and went in and fucking punched him in the face. And I could just picture Paul Rudd saying all the things she said Ant-Man said.
Yeah.
Just
totally.
Instantly. Just wearing like a baseball cap and just talking.
Yep. He's got a ball cap on and yep. Yeah, you could totally see it. And it also helps us to understand her character too, because, just being a woman and you could see how she gravitated to that. Like she's talking about the whole space invasion and stuff like that. But what stood out to her was that this woman came in and really just turned the tide of this battle. That meant something to her, that this person could be just as impactful as some of the other superheroes in that fight and everything like that. And you could just tell by how she was narrating that. And everything they showed you was just so fun. Her little doodles coming to life and how they were depicting all that was just great. It was a visual feast, but in her words and how she said it and how she was acting with the admiration she had for Captain Marvel, you could sense that meant something for her. You could just, you felt all of that in just what she was saying.
Oh yeah. And that's what made also that little end thing with Captain Marvel just even like a little bit more of a treat is all of a sudden she is in a room filled with posters of her. She was probably out in fucking like another planet doing Captain Marvel shit. And all of a sudden she is in a teenage girl's room filled with posters of her. And Brie did such an amazing job of showing just the utter perplexity of the situation. And that, what the fuck my face is all over this room. Just like the gobsmackedness of it all. Oh, Brie did such a fucking amazing job. People need to get over that bullshit. She's fucking fantastic as Captain Marvel. And I'm not going to lie, this made me want to go back and watch Captain Marvel again a little bit.
Yeah, gonna have to. I gotta be ready, man. I gotta be ready for the Marvels.
Do you know how long it's been since a Marvel thing's made me want to go back and watch a different Marvel thing? Let alone itself. Like Thor Love and Thunder made me want to go watch Ragnarok. I didn't yet, but it makes me want to watch Ragnarok because I want to watch a good Thor movie. But this, makes me want to watch it again, but then makes me want to go back and watch Captain Marvel because I liked Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
It was before I was burned out on the MCU a little bit because I was a little lower because this was after Infinity War and I was a little lower than you guys on Infinity War. But I think I gave Captain Marvel like an 80. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. It was good.
Want to go watch it again because of this. Because it just, you feel her energy. You feel her energy towards that character. It fucking seeps into you a little bit. You get that Captain Marvel fandom. It seeps into your pores a little bit. You feed off her energy towards that character.
Yeah. And it was different from like, and in my opinion, it's a little more relatable. Like,
because it's fandom.
Yeah, because it's fandom. Exactly. And I think that's the point of it, because like when Peter Parker was looking up to Captain America and Iron Man and stuff like that, that's a little different. That's almost
that's
like
a mentorship.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a different thing. But this is more relatable because we are fans. You know, we know what it's like to have fandom for a favorite character. You know what it's like to go to a con and go dress up. And boy, I was jealous of that con. I was like, man, look at all that fun shit they were doing, man. Man, why can't cons be like that? Though, if superheroes really existed, hell yeah, it should be like that. You know what I mean? Like, there'd be statues and all kinds of crazy shit. But man, I wanted to be there so bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard during filming, a lot of that stuff was legit stuff, like comic books and posters from artists and stuff like that. Like, Iman, she told this story about how when they were filming, they would get distracted constantly because there was so much cool shit on set.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
but that's also the easiest way to do it. Go, hey, guys, come be extras in our little in-MCU Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Come do your Comic-Con shit for the MCU. Oh, yeah, people line up fucking left and right. I'd probably still do that. I'm the most apathetic towards the MCU person ever. I'd be like, I'd go do that. Yeah. But I mean, like what you were saying, Jastin, I mean, even to this day, I know I didn't like Moon Knight, the show. I know I didn't. You know what? Look at this. What's my fucking background? I'm trying to get it to where it's not glaring the light. That's fucking Moon Knight. Like, that is a fucking Moon Knight picture still. Okay. It still hasn't stopped me from going, I love Moon Knight. Yeah, so I get it. And when you have that type of character in this, be your character, like that's your tie to this universe or this show is through her, and you feel her fandom. Like I said, that made me want to go fucking watch Captain Marvel. Because I liked that movie. I want to, I want to go watch it.
And it's like you're like so excited for her to meet Captain Marvel, because in your mind you're thinking, man, how cool would it be to actually meet my favorite character?
That scene,
and she gets to do it.
That scene is what I'm looking forward to the most about the Marvels.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Meets Captain Marvel. I am pumped for that scene in that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's going to be fucking great. You're going to have Captain Marvel being like, what the fuck is this girl doing? And Miss Marvel just be like fucking bear hugging her. Like she's fucking Zangief.
Yep.
Her powers are probably going to act up a little bit because she's just so fucking emotionally all over the place that she's going to lose control of her powers a little bit. Not hurt her, but you know what I mean? Like she's going to grow her big hands, you know? So like her hands are going to wrap around them like 8 times because she's just hugging her. You know?
Yep.
Fangirling the fuck out.
That.
Oh, it's going to be, I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for that scene because I just know. Because even if it's not this director that did, or this showrunner or this writer that did it, just that she's in it, I know she'll bring the right energy. They won't be able to write her energy. She'll bring it regardless. And I just feel like in my heart of heart, I just feel that if the director's like, no, the scene won't play out like that. She's like, oh no, that's how this scene's going to go down. Because that's what my character would do.
Yeah.
So that's this scene. And the director's going to be like, well, no, we wrote it like this. And she's going to text Kevin, go get your boy to understand this is how this scene's going. Not because she's being a diva about it, because she's like, no, that's what my character would do. And that's what my character will do.
Yeah, because the person playing this character is a real fan. And there's something about that authenticity, man. You felt it. You felt her fandom because the person really does have it. It just, so there's a relatability that she has that is unlike any other character in this or any other character I've gotten to learn about and experience so far, because that's something that can connect with any comic book fan. Like that's a connection that the other characters, you can't connect with those other characters like you can with her in that way. That's just special to her. You know, that's very unique to this Miss Marvel character. So I'm glad we talked about that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that they showed it in this too. That they showed that that's an integral part of this character. And I want to move on a little bit. Did you feel like, I felt like when they cast her as Miss Marvel, they went, hey, who are your like 3 closest friends? And she went, these people. And they went, they're hired.
Yes, it did feel like that.
Because they just felt like lifelong best friends.
They did.
I mean, for all I know, and I know this isn't true, but I mean, they did such a good job in this. I feel like they cast her parents. That's her brother. That's her brother's wife. You know, like, hey, who are people that go to the mosque you attend? Let's hire them too. Hey, who's your favorite Euro guy? Oh, let's go hire that guy. Because they all felt like they have known each other for their entire lives. Like those people, like I said, they felt like her parents. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to her actual parents. But fuck, that felt like her parents.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that I would forget that it's a TV show and those aren't her parents. Because fuck, they felt like it. Just every bit of it. And I loved so many of the relationships. I know we talked about it earlier, but I cannot talk more about I cannot not talk more about how much I loved the dynamics with her father. And that scene where she hurts his feelings, like I said, I was like, I'm just sitting there going, go apologize to your father.
Yeah.
You hurt his feelings. Yep. And then, that last scene though, oh man, when they're on the roof.
Oh man.
That scene,
man.
And this is how you know it's an emotionally great scene, because it gets borderline cheesy, but never gets cheesy.
Yeah.
It skirts it, but never quite goes there. So it feels authentic, you know, because that's just such a great scene. Oh, and that scene when she's trying to tell her family that she's Miss Marvel.
Oh man.
Oh, that was a fucking great scene. She's like, you all already know. It's like, well, yeah, mom told dad, you know, dad's just sitting there on speakerphone. And I loved his reaction to it too. He's not trying to defend himself. He's just like, oh, speakerphone's amazing.
Yeah. That was just so great. And then the brother going, oh, you are, like, his sarcastic way of acting.
It's like such a brotherly thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. You're a superhero. I'm still going to give you some shit. Like,
oh, yeah.
And then there was just all the little things like that, too. Like how your family, like people just know what buttons to press and just giving you shit. Like when they first landed in Pakistan and the mother walks up to grandmother and she's like, what's wrong with your skin? You know, have you been on one of those diets of yours? And I'm like, man, moms always talking shit.
Oh yeah. And it's just and it just like, and I love that too, that, and it's, the brother's not even in the scene, but it shows how well the show's written, because at the end, whenever she finds out she's a mutant, and she's like, well, why did you even go back over, the DNA stuff again? And she's like, Bruno's like, oh, because your brother's been hounding me constantly to see if he has powers too.
Yeah.
The brother's not even in the scene, but whenever they describe that moment, when he says that about the brother character, you can instantly picture the brother in the mind doing it. Like in your mind, you can picture the brother doing it. Because the character is so well written and so well performed that you inherently picture that in your head. You go, yeah, he would do that, wouldn't he? He would so fucking do it.
Yep.
This character's been around for 4.5 hours. This character's only existed for 6 episodes of television. And you're so familiar with him that you get it. You're just like, yep, brothers, am I right? Like you said, moms. You do that with every character in this because they are expertly written and performed. And it's amazing. And that's why I think I love this show so much. Is this show also, one thing I love is it doesn't spoon feed you Islam.
Nope.
It does what The Wire did. It just throws you into a Muslim community and goes, well, in a Muslim household and Muslim characters, and goes, catch the fuck up.
Yep. This is it. This is what it is. This is what they do. They go to mosque. This is the kind of celebrations they have. This is what they're doing to go to this wedding. This is what an Eid is. I was learning things like, okay, so they call younger people beta. Like you were just picking things. I knew none of this shit, man. Like I swear I felt like I was learning something at the same time. Like, okay, so that's something that they say when they refer to each other and stuff like that. And it's so interesting to like go on comment sections and stuff like that. And when you see Muslim people commenting about this show, they're like, yep, that's totally right. Yep, I have a mom and she does that too. She'll make noises like that, or she'll chant little things and stuff when she hugs and stuff like that. Or they'll go, yep, that's exactly something that we've gone through and stuff like that. Or like the Nakia character, the friend who was trying to run for like a council position and everything. And just some of the stuff that she would say, like, well, when Damage Control tried to investigate us and stuff like that, it was a lot of trying to put good Muslim versus bad Muslim, that whole trying to put the culture against itself. She was so great about pointing out little things like that, but not in a preachy way. It's like you said, you were just thrown into a Muslim household. And this is what they go through. This is how they talk. This is what their life is. And it never felt like it strayed away from that or in any way tried to force that on you. It was more like, this is what it is. This is what they go through. This is what one of these people living, these are some of the hardships of a person that is from this culture living in America right now. And they showed all of that, or a character expressed that. Like when Nakia was like, for some people, I'm too white to be part of the culture. And then for other people, I'm too ethnic to be an American. So finally, I was just like, man, I'm just going to be who the fuck I am. That was some real shit. Like,
yeah,
you just felt all of that, man. Like all of that was just, and it just felt so authentic. It wasn't like the lesson here, guys, is that it never, ever felt like that. It was just like, damn, okay, girl, you do your shit then. I get it. All right. all right, Nakia, you do your thing. And then we were moving on to the next scene, you know?
See, and the thing I love the most about this show, and it's why, and I know we've talked about it before, why, like certain movies, certain characters, certain whatever, I've got zero interest in watching it because it's the story of a straight white man. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I've seen that movie 90 billion times. And on top of that, it's my life. I know exactly what it's like to be a straight white man. I know about, I guess you could say, the hardships. There's not really many. There's not.
Yeah.
I've got personal hardships in my life. None of them have been because I'm white, straight, or a man. Never. That's never equated into my hardships of my life. You know, but I'm not going to say I haven't had hardships. I'm a person.
Of course you have.
I've had hardships. But like I said, never been because of those things. I've no hardships whatsoever. Not gonna lie, it's kind of easy. You know, even in this day and age, when people are wanting to, just kind of discredit things because I'm a straight white man. I get it. Doesn't even offend me because I get it. Because like I said, my story essentially has been told so many fucking times. You know, it doesn't faze me one bit when somebody goes, well, that's the opinion of a straight white man. Because I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the opinion of the world for how long? Like, not even America. Because that would discredit all the straight white men from Britain colonizing the world. Or the East India Company from the Netherlands. And, we had a good run. We had a good run. It's fine. You could say shit about straight white men. It's fine. Because I'm not going to lie, it didn't even really affect me that much. You know, my life doesn't change because of it, really. I actually agree with you, and my life still doesn't change. So then you watch something like this, and that's why I love it. Because like you said, you get to learn about another culture. You get to see what life's like in another culture. I love it. That's entertaining to me because I don't know this shit. And I actually know it, not a lot, but I know a decent amount about Islam. I've read the Quran. I've studied Islam. I've actually lived my life by Islamic principles for a while and stuff like that. So I get it. Like, and so I have a little bit of experience with it, but still nothing like growing up in it, being an actual Arab or any of those things. Like I can't relate to any of that, but I some of that. And I was still learning stuff in this, and to me, that's what's entertaining. That's what's engrossing about the story. Learning things about people that I can't possibly just know from living my life.
Exactly.
Living my life, I can never know what it's directly like to be a teenage Muslim American in the year 2022. I can never actually experience it. But I'm so thankful I get things like this, that I get a glimpse into it. I get to learn a little bit about it. Those are the stories I love. Even if it's not 100% perfect, accurate, or anything like that, you feel like they tried to do their best to show you at least a glimpse. And I love that. I enjoyed that. Oh, like that wedding. Ooh. I mean, I know I've already gotten married. I'm going through a divorce, but that made me want to get married again.
Man, that looked fun. Oh my gosh. How fun did that look?
Oh, like I said, it made me want to get married.
And how great was the music? It was so colorful. Everybody was just having a great time. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there. Like, that's what I can say about this show, man. I wanted to be there. Or, man, I think that's the best thing I can say about it, man. It was so colorful. It was so energetic. It was so, like, just engrossing. I wanted to be there. I was like, I wish I could go. I wish I could be there. It was great, man.
I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I know you live your life alcohol free and everything like that, but I was watching that wedding and I'm like, man, you can have fun at a wedding and not get drunk? That's crazy. I know that's every wedding you've ever been to. Nope. I have gotten shit faced at like the last 6 weddings I've gone to, including my own. When I went to our friend Katie's wedding, that was a cash bar. So I had to pay for my drinks. It wasn't even an open bar where it's free. I paid for all my drinks. I dropped over $400 at that wedding's bar. Now, over 100 of that was tips at the end of the night because I was drunk as shit. But I was buying rounds for people. I mean, towards the end of that night, I'm walking up there getting 10 shots because I'm giving them away, like, just because, yeah. But I was shit-faced. Shit-faced at my wedding, shit-faced at my cousin's wedding, shit-faced at my other cousin's wedding. Yeah, I've been very drunk at the last few weddings I've gone to. And they had so much fun and no alcohol to be found at that wedding. It looked fun as shit. I mean,
yeah. And just the little dance numbers and how they have everybody participating in those. It wasn't like, okay, we need to get Iman Vellani. We need to get her in here so that we can kind of spotlight her. Those scenes never felt like that. It felt like, hey, here is a taste of this culture.
Yeah. And
look how much fun they're having.
And she was
look at what they're doing.
Yeah. And she was in it because that's what she wanted to do. Because that's her brother's wedding, but it is, like you said, it's part of her culture. And so that's what she did it because she wanted to, like, that's a part, like, that's what she it didn't feel like that forced thing. But even then I liked Bruno in it a little bit too, because like it showed how long he's been around that family. Like no one was like, why the fuck is Bruno dancing? They're like, oh shit, Bruno's even doing it because he's a part of this family too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved that aspect of it. And it wasn't, they didn't do the whole, oh, let's showcase the white kid doing all this. He was just a part of the scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah. And it just didn't feel fake, man. Like you said, because it could have easily been, oh, look at the white kid doing it too. Look at him getting down too. It never felt like that with Bruno, ever. And nothing ever felt bullshitty like that. You know what I mean? It just felt like you said, it just always felt like he was a part of the family. And everybody was interacting with him too. I like that too. Like there were scenes where he was talking with the brother and they had good scenes, where he was talking with the mother and they did, and they had a meaningful scene, or he was talking with the father. Like and I can't state enough how important that is for this show. They just made the interactions count. It didn't matter who was with who. Her friend Nakia, when she was talking to Bruno, like they just did such a great job at making those interactions count, just all the time.
Yeah. And I think it's funny too that like I saw this TikTok talking about this show, and it was specifically the end fight sequence against Damage Control, where they essentially home aloned out that school.
Yeah.
That essentially her plan was essentially to use Bruno's white privilege a little bit to benefit them by him being the final distraction for Damage Control, knowing that they weren't going to kill the kid. Oh, but they did knock him the fuck out.
They did.
They straight fucking pistol whipped his ass with that gun. I'm like, that is a child.
Man, he got meleeed.
That is a child. And you tried to Mortal Kombat fatality that kid.
I know, man. That was a melee for your ass. That was some Halo, Call of Duty. That was a melee for your ass.
Yeah. Oh, Damage Control gave no fucks that they were shooting at children. I don't give a fuck if they're superpowered or not. You are shooting at children. And I loved that too. I loved that whole scene of using social media to get the community involved, to come there to say, fuck Damage Control. Oh, I loved all that shit. Like it felt so right, especially in today's climate and everything like that. It felt so right that this community was essentially able to tell this government agency that was going drastically further than they should and encroaching on the rights of these citizens, and the community stood up to them and going, fuck you. Oh, that felt so good.
Yeah. Come on, man. These are kids. At the end of the day, these are kids, and you haven't confirmed. You don't know enough yet. So, and I like how the female agent, man, I forget what her name was in this, but how
Devers, I think.
Devers, yes, I think you're right. How pressing Devers was, but I like how the other guy was like, hey, slow your roll. We don't need to do it this way. This is going to be bad press. He wasn't saying we aren't going to go after him, but I liked how he was trying to be smart about it, a little sneakier about it. Like, look, this just isn't a good time to try to apprehend. There's too many eyes. This is not going to look good. And she just had to try. So I even like the back and forth with that, They weren't villains necessarily. And that was another thing I think that was good about this too. There were antagonizing people and principles, but there wasn't like this, twist my mustache, super villain. And I kind of like that. I like how that wasn't in here,
Yeah, they all had understandable reasons. Like even damage control, because essentially you had two kids with powers that obviously weren't in control of them.
Yes.
And that can be a dangerous situation for a lot of people. I liked even
and you had that building blow up, like that there was that building that got damaged. So there were some legit concerns.
Yeah. And then the clandestine weren't really villains. They were people from another dimension that wanted to go home.
Yeah, they just wanted to go home.
And then on top of that, when it came down to it and they had to choose between going home and essentially destroying the other universe because of what would happen if they did go home, they chose not to, because they didn't want to hurt people. They didn't want to kill people. They just wanted to go home. And when it came down, like I said, when it came down to it, and it would be, you'd murder billions of people if you went home. They didn't. Because ultimately they weren't willing to pay that price to even just go home. And that's relatable.
Yeah.
Like that was understandable. And, and I was really happy that they didn't have the son, Cameron, go full villain at the end of this. Because a lesser show would have. A lesser show would have had him go, but my mom's dead. I'm alone. These people want to hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them. Like he had a little bit of that, but that's understandable. He was emotionally going through the fact that he just found out his mom was dead. He was emotionally going through the fact that he just developed powers like a day before that. He was going through the fact that this government agency is trying to stop and or kill him. He was going through so much. Yeah, there was some craziness. But in the end, he listened to Kamala and he didn't go the shitty route. And didn't go the typical, I'm going to be a bad guy route.
Yeah.
And a lesser show would have done it. And I'm so happy they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they were able to show complexities of a situation and complexities of emotions and complexities of relationships and not go the cheap route. They did exactly what the show had dictated they should do. And that's great. That's
exactly.
Great writing, great directing, great producing all around.
Yeah. We don't have to get the same thing every time. We don't have to get this band of evil Muslim people or Pakistani people. We don't have to get that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have these, or like I said, the mustache twirlers. You don't have to have that in every story. And this felt so refreshing because it just wasn't there. And I mean, yes, a good villain can make a good superhero movie, series, story, whatever we're talking about. But you can also force that shit too. And
well, there's a reason why the MCU
forced.
There's a reason why the MCU does have a problem with villains. They do force it a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they go, there has to be a villain.
Yep. And like you said, that's why our defenders were up, towards the end of this, because it felt like you said, that would have been the easy choice. That would have been the easy thing to do. Oh, now we got a villain. They have powers that are similar. Here we go. Big CGI. Let's fight each other with alike powers. And they found a way to avoid just doing that bullshit again. They found a way, She wasn't trying to fight him more than she was just trying to stop. She was both trying to stop the damage control, but she was trying to stop him from killing people and just wrecking stuff.
And doing something
it was like it was like this delicate balance she was trying to perform. And so you really felt for her even in those moments, like everything she was trying to do,
I'm not going to lie, though, too. Whenever I saw that her powers were kind of like blue and energy based, I was like, oh, God, we're going to get another fucking blue beam shooting towards the sky at some point. I'm so glad we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We
didn't.
So many things about this. I was so afraid we were just going to get some typical superhero tropes or some typical Marvel tropes with it. And they really just went away from a lot of that. And like you said, they focused on just telling a good story with the hero getting her powers. It didn't bother you that there's not a villain. There's not an evil Kamala, And I was also worried about that because the son ended up having some similar powers to her. And I was like, great, we're just going to get a Kamala versus Kamala battle.
Yep.
I thought that's where they're going. And they did do a little bit of it, but it wasn't quite the same. And the motives weren't the same. And the ending wasn't the same. So while you did get a little bit of the hero fighting a similar hero or similar character aspect, a little bit, they changed just enough to make it work better, to not feel the same, to feel, like you said, refreshing.
Yeah. You saw the similar ingredients, but it was just executed so much better. And that's really a testament to this show. Just when they just executed things so much better. That's really is the biggest testament to the show. Even when a trope was emerging or presenting itself or something like that, they just had a little way of doing it. There are mother-daughter talks in every single damn thing with families. Every single damn thing. There are mother-daughter misunderstandings in every single damn thing in the world that is things. We see it all the damn time. But man, they had a way of executing these things.
You could go on TV right now and just flip through channels. And you will find at least 9 different mother-daughter conversations right now. That's how many times it's been done in TV history. Some of them, you might come across the same show in just different seasons doing the same shit. And this one's better. One episode I was worried about this is there's that time travel episode in this where they do the flashback and she's transported to it. I'm like, great, we're getting that sci-fi TV trope of somebody getting transported to the past. And it's something tied into their history. And it's just going to be them sitting there through the whole thing. And it's just be like, oh, I know what's going to happen, but I can't tell them this and all this other stuff. And we didn't get that. She tied in just a little bit to it. And they made it tie into the story that was there. And it's kind of, as soon as she went back in time, I knew she was going to be the one that saved her grandmother. But it played out the exact same way it was supposed to. Because that's what it was. her grandmother's story was her going back in the past, and they did it in just a nice enough way that I didn't hate that episode. I didn't completely love it because it's a terrible sci-fi trope that I've seen 90 billion times with the amount of sci-fi I've watched. But I did not hate this episode of it. I didn't. It did just enough, and it added to the clandestines' motivations a little bit. It added to the family's story a little bit, which adding to their story adds to Kamala's story. And it sealed the deal with that whole story with the grandmother that caused the falling out with her and her daughter, which caused the issues between her and her mom and Kamala. So it did just enough to tie all that together a little bit neater than it was tied before that. So it didn't hurt the overall story of the show. It just tied the family story together a little bit better. Give it a little bit crisper of a bow. And in the end, I think it worked. It worked more than it didn't work. That was probably my least favorite episode of the series, but not completely in a negative way. There's 6 episodes. There's got to be one worst. And it's not like it's the worst episode of television I've watched. It's just the worst of 6. There's got to be one that's worse than the rest, And so overall it worked. And they tied it in better than most shows do when they do that same fucking thing. A lesser show would have fucked it up more.
And I love the way that one episode, I think it was this one too. I love the way that it started though, where, we're seeing the Marvel logo like we always do, but then it goes black and white and it looks all vintage. And then it was given the history lesson about
the partition.
Yeah, the partition and what happened with that, and just kind of, and it was brief. It was not preachy. They just gave it to you and said, this is what people were going through. And then you got to see the great grandmother, Aisha. You got to see her kind of what happened and who she met and starting a life and all of that stuff, and how that came in conflict with the clandestines, with them trying to go back. So it just, and all of that was good stuff too. Just spending a little time with her to understand what she was too. And I appreciated that, because in a lesser narrative, that would have just been a character mentioned that we never saw, or somebody else would have just told that story. That would have just been some exposition by the grandmother. Yeah, Aisha did this and did that, and this is what happened. And that would have probably been the end of it. Or we would have gotten something. I just don't think we would have quite gotten that, In
a truly lesser show would have done the whole thing where it's the grandmother telling the story of her mom, and it's played by other actors in the show, just playing different characters in the past, but it's all the same people.
Yes, they totally would have done that. Yes.
And I appreciated this version of it a little bit better, because these were fully formed characters. You got to see full characters that were actually their own characters, and not just excuses for the same people to play a different role for an episode, And so they tied that in nicely. And I like that they talked about the partition to a little bit of a greater depth, not completely in depth, but just enough to where if you're a curious person, you go, I want to learn more about the partition now. I knew a little bit about it, not to a great depth, but I know a little bit of the history of it, of, the British kind of intentionally caused issues between Muslims and Hindus in India before they left. They were going to pull out. They were going to, leave India, and they intentionally caused issues so that when they left, it would fuck some shit up. Because, colonialism's great.
Isn't it?
And I like that you got to see a little bit of it, and not completely in depth. And it's, it's just a kind of an introduction to where if you're a curious person, you'd go, I want to learn more. And you can go learn it from something else. But just to inspire you to want to do that is a great thing. And it shows how great this show is. It tied into some real shit. Kind of like how The Watchmen tied into.
There you go.
The Tulsa, the Tulsa massacres. Kind of like even how The Boys in season 3, a little bit of a spoiler, just the tiniest bit of spoiler, ties into Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to learn about the dark history of what the U.S. did in Nicaragua, you got a little bit of an introduction to it, and you could go learn more. A curious mind will sit there and go, was the CIA actually trafficking drugs out of Nicaragua to sell in the inner cities of America? Yes, they were. And they introduce you to it a little bit. How we were there fucking up another country's, just because we wanted drugs. And it wasn't drug dealers doing it. Well, I guess it was the ultimate drug dealers. CIA. So, yeah. Gotta love Reagan's war on drugs. That's fucking great. Anyway, like I said, I could turn anything into me hating Ronald Reagan. I did it with Miss Marvel. Nailed it. Well, Miss Marvel too.
You really can do that. You really can.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think you could, but apparently that is a real skill that you have. I mean,
some people are good at 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. I'm great at 6 degrees to fuck Ronald Reagan.
Point taken.
But also, what were great shows? And I'm sorry, I said The Watchmen with the Tulsa Massacre. Great show. Introduce that. I didn't know much about the Tulsa Massacre at all. I didn't even know it was a thing until The Watchmen happened. I was like, oh, fuck, that's real. And then went and looked it up. The Boys, great fucking show. Like I said, if you want to know more about Nicaragua, I know a lot about that because, if you're a professional Reagan hater, you know about that shit. So I've looked that up. But yeah, so this show, great show, introduces real life events that I don't know much about. I knew a little bit, like I said. I've gone and downloaded a few podcasts that delve deeper into the partition and the history of all that and the history of British colonialism in India and all that stuff. Because this show inspired me to want to learn more. Because why? It's a great fucking show. Like you said, it's just weirdly as educational, culturally, and historically as it is entertaining.
And that has always been a great combination. When something is entertaining, but you're learning at the same time, man, that's just good shit, man.
Hey.
From the time we were kids to now, that will always be some good shit. And that's why this is good shit.
And that's why my cynical ass will still never say anything bad about Mr. Rogers.
There you go.
Quality edutainment.
Boom.
Same with Sesame Street.
The mic.
How terrible of a fucking person do you have to be to look at Sesame Street and hate it?
Yeah.
It educates and entertains at the same time. It's great.
And that's why it's timeless. It lasts. It will last forever. And that's why.
I was born after Sesame Street started and I will die before it ends.
Yep.
And even if that means I live an average American male life, that's decades of it being around before and after I am a thing.
Yep.
It's because it's great. You got anything else you want to say about this Miss Marvel, though?
No, that was it. Oh, yeah. And it was also, last thing, and this will be quick. It was also cool that at the end we got to see her embeggen, I knew about that. I knew that when she does the embeggen thing, she grows, Now, I've seen her be the size of a building. So I know that she can be bigger, but I like how they just gave you a taste of it. That this is not full on, final form Miss Marvel. I like how they let her have that power. She said it. She said what she needed to say. That's what she says in the comics, but they just gave you a tidbit of it. And you're just excited to see what else she can do with her power set. Once she masters her powers, like you're sitting there watching her fight and you're seeing her do these things and you're going, man, just wait till she masters these powers. Like, she's going to be pretty badass.
Because right now she has to create little platforms to run around the city. It's like, she's going to be able to fly at some point. Like, I don't even know if that's a power of hers in the comics, but eventually she'll fly. Like I said, even if it's not a thing in the comics yet, with just in general, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
At least in the MCU, she's going to fly.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
Yep.
And like we talked about earlier, it was so great to see that in the episode because it was a defensive reaction, to what was going on. And that makes so much sense for somebody that's learning to deal with powers or abilities, to experience new versions of it or heightened versions of it in a defensive reactionary way. That makes so much sense because it's so much pure instinct at that point. It's just that will to want to stop something type of mentality. And just that makes so much sense. And it's also why it makes so much sense that she's a fucking mutant.
Yep.
Just saying. Adolescent, gaining powers. Come on. How does that not scream the first 4 issues of the X-Men? I'm just saying,
Yep. And they even did the little jingle again. But was that electric guitar this time? What was that?
I think it was I think they just did it with a MIDI device. I think they just had a computer actually do the notes, in a synth type of way. Because, because the Multiverse of Madness and this, they both did it with in the actual show did it with an electric guitar. I think this just did it with electronic music. It's the notes, but it's different sounds. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But yeah, come on. How does this not scream Jubilee's story arc in the first couple of episodes of the X-Men, the animated series? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, it felt great that when they were she's the introduction to mutants. Plus, too, that's what made it, I think, actually surprising. Because I don't think anybody, you get all these fans, you get every fan theory in the world for these MCU movies and TV series. No one predicted Miss Marvel being the introduction to mutants because she's one. And it and I think, part of it is, because it is comic inaccurate, but feels so right though. Might be inaccurate, but it feels so right. Because I think that means we're either going to get some mutants that are drastically older because they have been mutants for a while. You might get a Professor X or a Wolverine or a Magneto that have been around for a while and just maybe hiding their powers or whatever. But that means I think when we're going to get the X-Men, he's going to get kids again. But I think they're going to do better than the later X-Men movies did. I kind of feel that when we get an X-Men movie, it's going to be the original team, but it's going to feel like First Class. So it's going to be so good. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
But you're going to get the original team. You're going to get a Beast, an Angel, a Cyclops, a Jean Grey, an Iceman. And they're going to be kids. And it's going to be great.
Awesome. That would be great.
Yeah, and hopefully, I'm not going to lie, as crazy as it may sound, I hope they don't introduce a Wolverine for another 5 movies after that, though. Because that's the real shit. And I'm not going to lie, I got tired of fucking Wolverine being in everything X-Men all the time. Because they were doing it even in the original animated series. He wasn't the main character originally. It was actually Jubilee. Jubilee was the main character of the animated series for a little bit. And then it became the Wolverine show.
Mm-hmm.
But then, dude, when they did that Wolverine and the X-Men show, I was so mad.
I know. Wolverine and Friends. I mean, and that's what sort of happened. It just became Wolverine and Friends for a while. So it would just be nice to, like you said, just to see it get back to its roots. Because that's when it's best. It's not when it's trying to focus on one character. My favorite X-Men stories are the ones where all of them are kind of integral to the story. Whatever handful it is they're focusing on, I like the handful approach. I don't like, okay, it's just this one. Now, sometimes those singular stories were okay. You know, I mean, they're not
every
bad,
once in a while it's fine. But it's but they were always great when they would do a story arc and then do a one issue focusing on one character, and then the next issue's another story arc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the best stories.
Those are the best for X-Men. Yeah.
I do want to throw out there the one change, because I know that like it was like original team. I want them to add one member that wasn't on the original team, but would be perfect in the Kid X-Men movie. And that's a Storm. Throw in a Storm too.
Oh, that would be great.
Do the original team plus Storm.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do a Storm. Yeah. Not a Wolverine. Maybe a Nightcrawler. Maybe. At like the end of the first movie, they find a Nightcrawler. But I think when they do the original team, you do a Storm with it. Because just no one screams the X-Men more than the original team and a Storm. Storm just screams X-Men so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's so badass. Just put her in that too. I know it's not canon. Who gives a fuck? Throw a Storm in there.
Yeah, throw it in there.
Yeah.
We done changed this shit up so much anyway. You might as why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I wouldn't even be opposed to a slightly older Storm. It was like Professor X's first pupil. I know it's supposed to be Scott, but have it be Storm instead. So she's like 5 years older than them and helping train them. Oh man. That way you can get like an early 20s Storm. Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That would be great. But like, I just think we should go back to, Storm and Cyclops being the real leaders of the X-Men and fuck a Wolverine. That's all I'm saying.
I'd be down. I know that much.
Hell yeah. See, I'd be stoked about that. Other than that, they can do whatever, but that'd be great. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. Facebook, we're Cinema Slayers podcast. Twitter and Instagram, we're cinema_slayers. Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok. Check out Cinema Slayers on YouTube. You can see our faces during all this. You can see me and my facial expressions weirdly enjoying an MCU property for fucking once. Because that hasn't happened since we went to video. This is our fourth thing we've done. So Moon Knight. Doctor Strange was beforehand. I'm sorry. I was thinking we did video for Doctor Strange. We didn't. But Moon Knight and Thor have both been videos, and notice how I had a grumpy face for a lot of that. Happy face. So much happy face in this one because it's so fucking great. I think this is the first time you've gotten a real happy face out of me since we did Top Gun. Kind of had a happy face during Black Phone. Wasn't a grumpy face in Black Phone. It was just kind of their face. No, happy face. Look at this. Sterling happy face. Talking about Miss Marvel. Give us a 5-star rating review. We'd really appreciate it. Hit this like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell button so you can get notified when we drop these videos on Thursdays. Tell your family. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' family. And tell your family's friends. And most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because there's Heather's not here. Because there's a great mother story. There's a great mother character in this. Mothers want to see other great mothers. So there you go. And most of all, weirdly enough, I'm going back to Moon Knight as I end the TikToks, YouTube videos, and podcasts. Just remember, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is the Best Picture winner.
We know what the Best Picture winner is now, though.
I'm not going to lie. I might be okay with changing that. We're recording to Jastin, Ms. Marvel as a Best Picture winner. Because to me, it played like a 4.5 hour movie and it's fucking great.
Cinema.
I know.
And it's everything a fucking Academy Award movie would like. It's got that coming of age story. It's got, you know, weird issues like body changes. You know, it's great story with a mother and father and a child. Like, it's everything Academy Awards love.
Yep. Man, it's just everything, man. It's just everything. The mother made the super suit and the father gave her the name. I mean,
and her friend gave her the mask.
Yep, her friend gave her the mask.
Dude, this was one of the first times a mother gave her child the super suit, and I didn't get upset. I always fucking hate that. It's like Superman. Here's your super suit. I just sewed it with Kryptonian language on it. The fuck is that?
That's true. That's true.
They always do that. Just in this one, like, it felt real. Like, she was like, because they established earlier in the show that she can make costumes and sew shit, that she wanted to do that. She wanted to allow her daughter to do weird fantasy superhero shit, but still stay true to their customs and their culture and all of that. And then so, like, with her designing the suit at the end, it made so much sense.
Yeah.
And I like how, like, elements of her suit were from all different elements of her journey. She had the scarf from the red daggers.
Yep.
The mask from the friend. Her mom, or the suit from the red daggers also, because they gave her the suit, technically. Like the original, like the red and blue thing. And then her mom took it, based it off that little fucking necklace she had that broke. That was her name.
Yep. That was her name in Arabic. And then the father gave her the name. Like, come on, dude.
And none of it felt cheesy. It all felt earned.
Yeah.
Because it's a great show.
Man,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably watching this shit tomorrow night. I'm probably watching Miss Marvel tomorrow night. I'll watch one episode of I'm either gonna watch one episode of Stargate and then Miss Marvel, or I'm just gonna watch all of Miss Marvel and then watch one Stargate before I go to bed. Because, like I said, I got to get one Stargate in. Because I'm on season 8.
I know what I'm watching after this. You know what I finally started? 6 Feet Under.
Okay. Yeah.
Boy.
Oh, that's a fantastic show.
I'm still on the first season, but...
Oh, that's a fantastic show.
Man, it's a good ass show, dude. I didn't know Dexter was in this. I didn't know Michael C. Hall was in this.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Why do you think
killing it?
Why do you think I was excited about Dexter when it started? Was it that's
now I
Michael
understand.
C. Hall?
I'm mad. I'm angry with myself that I didn't get to experience him that way. I'm mad that I didn't get to see this first and then be excited for Dexter the same way that you are. But I'm glad I'm here now because, boy, he is killing it. But anyway, yeah.
And I'll say this. Do you know what this show doesn't do unlike Dexter? It doesn't fall the fuck off.
There you go. Okay.
It doesn't fall the fuck off.
No,
Dexter.
I'm loving it, dude.
It's weirdly the antithesis of Dexter, because Dexter has one of the worst endings in TV history. This show has single-handedly, I would argue, the best final episode of all time. I could see some other shows maybe, but it's if it's not the best, it's at least top 5 final episodes of all time. And I cannot wait for you to get that, because there's another series that ends in a similar way, and they're ripping off 6 Feet Under. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You can call it an homage, whatever, you know. But another show does it, an ending just like this, and I know why. because this ending is fucking fantastic. I don't blame that show at all, that other show at all, for going, hey, let's do a 6 Feet Under ending, because it's fantastic. You're just setting yourself up for success by following that model.
Okay. All right.
And that's what I cannot wait for. I cannot wait for you to get to the end of that so I can talk to you about that. I almost think we need to get Heather to watch 6 Feet Under all the way through also. So that way, once you are both done, we can just do like a little bonus episode, just talking about the finale of the show. Not even talking about the entirety of the show, just talking about the finale.
Man, she should watch it, man, because Heather would love this show. It's...
Oh, and
I mean, I'm only on the first season, dude, but like it's got everything that you want in a show, in a drama like this. I will take it one step further and compare it to this show real quick. As great as the unified family dynamics are in this show, 6 Feet Under is just as good with the dysfunctional family dynamics. Yes, very much so. Yes.
And it never drops in quality when it comes to that. Like, yeah, some of the later episodes and shows might not be as great as some of the beginning. It never truly drops in quality, though. It's like, going from like a 92 to a 90. It's never really going to truly drop. But the dynamics in the family, I'm not saying they don't change. I'm just saying they always stay top tier quality. That's why the show is great. And also, that does remind me real quick, and I'm sorry I'm doing this so late. Heather did send us a little thing about this show. We should have said it more during the episode, and I'm sorry. But Heather did say she did about this. She super enjoyed Miss Marvel, best soundtracked Marvel thing, and most fun energy of Marvel things. A very endearing show. Fuck, I should have said that way earlier in the episode. And I'm so glad I remembered that she said that. So we just kind of got into it and we're like, yeah, it's great. And I spaced on it a little bit. But Heather, you're not forgotten. That is her thoughts about it. Sorry it's so late. But what would you expect from me at this point? If not fucking it up a little bit. So.
True. Very, you wouldn't be you without fucking it up a little bit. So.
Yeah.
It's on point.
Exactly.
It's on point.
All right. Yes, you need to watch more 6 Feet Under. Everybody. And that's everybody. That's not even just Jastin. Everybody needs to watch more 6 Feet Under.
Well, I will, sir.
And if you've seen it, you know why I'm saying that, because you probably watched it more than once. I think anybody that's seen 6 Feet Under has watched it probably all the way through more than once. I'm not going to lie. When I finish Stargate, I might be throwing that in there now. I might, because I'm going to have to go to Stargate Atlantis, because that's the next series. But I might do a thing where I'm watching Stargate Atlantis, 1 6 Feet Under episode a day, minimum. Yeah, that's going to happen now. All right, I'm out.